When a rebellious Navy SEAL faces off against a power-hungry neighbor, determined to squash his fitness revolution, who will emerge victorious in the battle for freedom and fun? Before we begin today's insane story, show some love if you've ever survived a wild Karen meltdown. Drop a like and let me know your craziest Karen run-in you've had down in the comments. If you're new around here, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss another jaw-dropping showdown. The atmosphere was electric, a palpable mix of exasperation and jubilation swirling around Karen and our merry band of fitness rebels. I watched with uncontainable glee as she stood by the sidelines, arms crossed and lips still pursed, but the edges crinkled with something edging closer to amusement. "If you want to join in, we've got room on the playmat, Karen," I hollered, and the crowd erupted in a spontaneous cheer, transforming the lingering tension into a ripple of hopefulness that surged through our makeshift boot camp. The once stark divide between HOA control and our spirited shenanigans had begun to blur, a vivid line drawn in water rather than stone. "What will it be? Join or get left behind?" I teased, employing every ounce of showmanship in my being, ready to lead her into this colorful chaos. After all those months of navigating her ironclad rules and compliance checks, a part of me was astonished at the thought of our real-life Karen being caught up in something so extraordinarily goofy. If you'd told me a year ago that I'd be belting out recruiting chants for a makeshift sport, I'd have labeled you bonkers. Yet here we stood, a flurry of 19 pissed-off homeowners and enthusiasm seekers, coaxing what clearly was a closet party animal into letting go. Determined not to let this opportunity slip, I rallied the troops, suggesting, "How about a little tug of war? Everyone can join." Just as I completed my grand proclamation, Mia emerged with a roll of bright pink duct tape in hand, eyes twinkling with mischief. "I say we tape ourselves together in pairs. That way you can't bail if it gets too wild." It didn't take long for our crew to erupt into giggles, eager to give her wild idea life. Karen's brows shot up for a moment, and I swear I caught the briefest hint of an eye roll before she stamped it down. But the game was afoot. Grouping up, we paired off while Mia led the charge with a dramatic flourish to start the big event. The duct tape fluttered in the breeze like a ridiculous flag, contrasting the usual HOA neutrality with every absurd motion we made. As vibrant laughter blossomed through the community center, even the more skeptical neighbors started dropping their stern facades. Couples who once frowned at us finally joined the antics, stumbling around in taped pairs and spilling laughter like loose change on the floor. Karen finally shifted her stance, or, dare I say, unfurled her arms just a smidge. The moment was pivotal, like watching someone standing on the edge of a diving board, terrified to jump but feeling the rush beneath their feet. "Okay, let's see where this takes us," I cheered. Before long, amidst the chaos, laughter spun like vibrant threads, stitching us closer together. That pivotal moment spiraled into additional challenges so ludicrous that I wondered if they'd dispatch a therapist after witnessing them. Each round brought a greater level of ridiculousness. From Mario Kart balloon races, impossible to take seriously, especially when the racers zipped past the pool, to dodge the water balloon, a sport we invented involving far too much shrieking and evasive maneuvers. In a particularly dramatic finale to the water game, Karen was suddenly pelted by an errant balloon directly from Mia's deft arm, instantly sparking what I think would become a neighborhood legend: the water balloon incident of 2023. Splashes and laughter danced around us both like fireworks, and in a comical twist, Karen lifted her arms in mock surrender, exclaiming, "You little troublemakers!" The seriousness that usually dripped from everything she said began to wash away like the water streaming down her blouse. With each cheer and splash, an invisible thread pulled tighter between us. The once unyielding HOA, in force, was slowly unearthing her sense of humor dug deep beneath layers of entitlement. "You know, this isn't entirely awful," Karen declared, a genuine smile surfacing as our chaos unfolded like petals blooming after a long winter. With each mishap, we found ourselves sharing stories, laughter, and hope, all while doused in various colors of war paint, otherwise known as splattered juice from inflatable food props. Our neighborhood's imaginations soared wildly alongside Karen's latent enjoyment, the spirit of community fueling a transformative experience where entitlement crumbled under the weight of joy. As the sun dipped lower, drenching us in hues of sunset and exhaustion, I solidified our victory with an outlandish idea that had gripped nearly everyone over the course of our chaotic day. A celebratory dance-off right there, on the grass. To my shock, Karen embraced the idea with vigor, shaking those shoulders of hers and initiating the most epic mom dance moves we had ever seen. Who knew one of her greatest powers could be the art of spontaneous groove? It was such an absurdly united front. We were no longer just a Navy SEAL battling an HOA adversary, but a vibrant collection of personalities, neighbors, friends, and even Kiera, the party planner down the street. Could unity truly spring so dynamically from inflatable suits, chaos, and laughter? Through that crazy day, our community transformed, gathered under a tapestry of joyous absurdity, and I couldn't help but think, if we could turn a stern figure like Karen into one of us for a day, then perhaps this was only the beginning. Who knew life as a retiree could be such a riot? With nightfall creeping in, I felt a shout emerge from my throat. "This is just the warm-up, Team Karen. Are you ready for another round next week?" The chants in sync filled the air, each phrase a jubilant agreement that echoed against the backdrop of warm camaraderie. For the first time, our neighborhood felt less like a divided battleground, and more like a family striving for connection. Maybe the universe wasn't entirely bonkers after all. The moment Karen's infamous clipboard clapped shut like a guillotine at my next lap, I couldn't help but think, you've got to be kidding me. Hadn't she seen enough action movies to understand that telling a Navy SEAL to stop swimming in a pool was like telling a lion to quit the jungle? The absurdity of it helped me shrug off her command, but her tirade echoed in my mind as I resurfaced, drenching myself in a newfound sense of defiance. "I suppose I'll have to get creative," I muttered, climbing out of the pool and flipping my metaphorical cape. If the pool was off limits, it was time for a training revolution. As I strolled back to my patio, visions of expanding my workout horizons danced in my head. Why not transform the clubhouse into a training camp? I considered gleefully. It had a grand floor, plenty of space, and let's be real, if Karen didn't want me swimming, surely she couldn't object to a little weights action inside 5,000 square feet of brick and mortar? I quickly mapped out a plan that could rival the meticulous layout of my Navy SEAL missions, except with significantly less risk of actual explosions. I could envision it: colorful mats, resistance bands, a few spare dumbbells and kettlebells, all hastily acquired from friends and the local sporting goods store. Watch out, world. The mornings of peaceful coffee sipping at the clubhouse were about to be disrupted by a whole new wave of adrenaline-fueled fitness. The following Saturday, armed with a bullhorn I'd borrowed from Mia's last yoga event, she was a great source of connections, I rallied the troops. I strutted into the normally genteel clubhouse with a confidence that rivaled any action hero. My voice echoed off the walls like our hilarious friend, Tony the Tiger, had taken a victory lap. "Attention, residents of Sunnyvale Estates. Forget the whispers and redirect your grumpiness, because we're about to launch the hottest workout camp this neighborhood has ever seen." I grinned, watching confusion morph into curiosity on my fellow residents' faces. They thought merging into a fitness cult somehow sounded more appealing than Karen's faction of peace. I would take it. Mia joined me alongside, armed with her riotous energy, as she bounced up and down beside me like a caffeinated bunny on a sugar high. Within hours, the clubhouse went from an ancient, stuffy room filled with dreary community meetings to a vibrant epicenter of sweat, laughter, and some seriously questionable dance moves. We worked out hard, and you better believe those retirees began peeking out from behind their curtains, stunned and perhaps a little envious. The noise, colors, and aura of enthusiasm somehow balanced the normal, peaceful existence Karen had tried to impose. With each burpee and battle rope session, I silently reveled in the fact that I was breaking the status quo, one press up at a time. Maybe they'll learn a thing or two about fitness while they're at it, I thought, chuckling as I high-fived an elderly gentleman who dropped his "disturbances are bad" attitude to join our troops of chaos. Of course, Karen didn't take too kindly to her reign of serenity being disrupted. Within days, she stormed back into the clubhouse, her presence gold-plated with indignation. "What do you think you're doing?" she barked, arms crossed tightly across her tailored blouse, as if she could intimidate me with sheer fabric power. Unfazed, I met her glare with my best Navy SEAL grin. "I'm transforming this clubhouse into a fitness commune, Karen. Every neighborhood needs a hero or two, right? You should get in on the fun." The holy flames of absurdity flickered in her eyes as she sputtered for a retort, but I was already turning back to my new workout crew. Who was she to throw water on our glaring joy? As we went through our burpee sessions, stretching, and spontaneous dance breaks, Mia was forever on point, keeping our spirits high as we faced the challenges of rebellious exercising. Our fitness crew morphed into a beautiful, chaotic medley of laughter and grunts, proving that within the walls of the HOA, anything was possible, if not exactly permitted. The best part was that other residents began to join in. Some even secretly laughed as they took their reluctant plunges into the fitness culture, transforming right before Karen's organized chaos. Meanwhile, there I was, trying hard to suppress the maniacal laughter every time I caught a glimpse of Karen's furrowed brow. Was a little fitness really so infuriating? Each training session served as a reminder that community spirit can thrive amidst bewildering power struggles. Karen could hang onto her clipboard like it was her lifeline, but as far as I was concerned, I'd already turned her galactic proportions of entitlement upside down. If she wanted to uphold the limitations of our HOA, she'd need to close the door on one very determined Navy SEAL. Every look of frustration on her face propelled my laughter, and as we sweat through another round of mountain climbers near the picnic table, I couldn't help but wonder, what next? What else could I possibly turn upside down in this HOA made out of Karen's delusions of control and order? It was only the beginning of my fitness takeover, and I was oh so ready for round 2. I was on a roll, living my best Navy SEAL life, until I found myself face to face with the embodiment of HOA rules. Karen stormed into the clubhouse, eyes blazing like she'd just spotted a troop of intruding raccoons raiding her meticulously organized garden. "This is absolutely unacceptable, Jake. What happened to our serene community vibe?" she exclaimed, her voice dripping with the kind of indignation usually reserved for crying children and missing pet posters. Her arms were folded so tight, they almost popped off her tailored blouse, and I couldn't help but feel a rush of amusement at her sheer frustration. I laughed a little, raised my eyebrow, and responded tactically. "Karen, my dear overlord of silence, serenity is a lovely concept, but have you ever tried burpees? They're excellent for lifting the soul." I grinned, relishing the way her brow furrowed into new, unprecedented levels of antagonism. The ensuing days were a whirlwind of hilarious and chaotic workout sessions as our team grew, thanks to my somewhat questionable charm and Mia's relentless enthusiasm. We had all sorts of characters show up at the clubhouse. There was Ted, the retired accountant, whose idea of fitness came down to wrestling with lawnmowers. Linda, who embraced yoga pants but had never actually done yoga. And Shirley, an octogenarian whose fighting spirit could ignite an entire bonfire. Each brought their own unique flair to our workout camp, blending wildly different backgrounds with shared aspirations of fitness, mostly to combat the crushing boredom of HOA meetings. Every drop of sweat spilled echoed with laughter, making Karen's attempts at order feel like an absurdity farce. "You guys don't even need to be in shape to be here. You just have to be willing to make a spectacle of yourselves." I chuckled during one of our especially chaotic sessions, clearly energized by the delightful absurdity of it all. However, in true HOA fashion, Karen wasn't about to sit back and let her bubble of serenity be burst by an exuberant gang of misfits. She decided to challenge my dominion over the clubhouse in a way that only someone like her could muster, by suggesting we hold an official HOA board meeting to discuss fitness activities. "The residents deserve an organized approach to physical activity," she declared, clutching her clipboard in a way that made it look like she was about to challenge me to a duel, the stakes. An official HOA ruling on how many burpees I could do before I was disqualified for excessive noise. How are we supposed to have order with all this exercise chaos disrupting our peaceful community? She continued, channeling her inner reprimanding parent. I, on the other hand, wore my most outrageous workout gear, ready to bravely respond to her pointed remarks. At the board meeting, I sauntered in, jazz hands ready to showcase my plans with a gleeful flamboyance. Ladies and gentlemen of the illustrious HOA, I present to you the Fitness Appreciation Day as an official event, I said, trying my best to keep a straight face, while stifling laughter over the absurdity of such a serious setting. Why not bring some joy into our lives? Plus, I'll let everyone try a burpee or two. Immediately, the committee looked as if I had just suggested they base their next meeting around karaoke night instead of the budget report. I could barely contain my inner chuckles as I watched them squabble about the idea, synonymous to cats caught in a yarn web. But in the end, the excitement grew. With the event scheduled, the clubhouse buzzed with anticipation like a soda right before you pop the cap. Posters went up, participation papers circulated, and Mia enthusiastically volunteered to teach some dance aerobics, with snippets of my Navy SEAL influence woven into the workouts for good measure. The atmosphere was electric, and surprisingly, Karen's opposition began to fade into a gentle hum as her authority weakened in the face of collective excitement. Our little fitness faction, now dubbed the Fit Squad, had gelled into a colorful tapestry of mixed abilities and enthusiastic laughs, proving yet again that the best plans are often the ones born from chaos. Meanwhile, I practiced my SEAL-worthy charm to rein in any grumpy neighbors, making them recall distant childhood joys about sports and sweat, before their HOA days warped their perception of fun. But talk about a plot twist. Less than 48 hours before our beloved Fitness Appreciation Day, a notice arrived in our mailboxes announcing an emergency HOA meeting. Panic swung through the neighborhood like a pebble hurled at a glass window. I quickly organized a pep rally in my driveway, gathering ousted members of the HOA who'd mysteriously taken an interest in getting fit. They kicked their doubts to the curb and rallied around my ideals of impulsive fun. What followed was a spectacle of riotous enthusiasm as we discussed game plans over snacks and energy drinks while dancing to our junky workout playlist. "Guys," I exclaimed, eyes gleaming with courage, "this will be our chance to show Karen Fitness doesn't wear a buttoned-up blouse. Let's show them what we've got." All around me, fists pumped in the air, laughter erupted, and my heart soared knowing we were headed straight for a showdown worthy of an action movie finale. So come the grand day, I was more than ready, decked out in a sleeveless tee that read Burpee Brigade, and pushing the boundaries of what the HOA could endure. Energized and adrenaline high, we launched our event with a kickoff workout session that sounded more like a festival than a neighborhood gathering. Karen, arms crossed and glaring from the sidelines, looked ready to engage. "We are changing the narrative," I hollered from the makeshift stage. "Welcome to a day of sweat, fun, and endorphins, a collective purge of stress and Karen's clipboard." I could see both intrigue and incredulity wash over the residents. And in that moment, as feet shuffled and gossip spread amidst the crowd, I knew our little band of fitness rebels was on the verge of transforming Sunnyvale Estates into our own sweat-saturated community. What could Karen possibly do about it? After all, who could resist a movement that boldly defied her absurd rules of order? As the sun peaked over the horizon on Fitness Appreciation Day, the clubhouse transformed into a vibrant hub of energy and enthusiasm. Banners that proclaimed "Get Fit or Die Tryin'" fluttered in the gentle morning breeze, threatening to dent the tightly wound nerves of my OA nemesis, Karen. The lawn was dotted with colorful mats, hastily arranged along with funky inflatable obstacles, all repurposed after my expertly executed heist on the pool toys for our workout extravaganza. I couldn't help but chuckle at the whimsical chaos we'd created. It was like a carnival, except instead of cotton candy and rides, we had burpees and questionable dance moves. As I surveyed the energetic scene, I couldn't shake the sense of impending glory. Today was going to be legendary. Mia was putting on the finishing touches as she set up the juice bar, arranging an array of healthy concoctions, the likes of which even the most committed smoothie aficionados might question. "Jake, you really think anyone will actually drink spinach celery smoothie?" she laughed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Absolutely. They'll love the way it tastes. And look how vibrant it looks. Who can resist a chance at becoming a green chugging icon?" I added, waving a neon green cup like a trophy. As we laughed, a small crowd began to form, inching their way toward our unwitting potion station, momentarily forgetting their steely HOA criticisms amidst the infectious fun we had conjured. With each passerby that joined the mix, I knew we were gaining momentum. This was more than just a fitness day. It was our little rebellion against the monotony of HOA regulations. But then, there she was, Karen, reticent yet fierce, surveying her surroundings like a general assessing a rogue battalion. Her shoulders tightened, just watching the inflatable hurdles. Her frown could have dimmed the brilliant sun. Jake Sullivan. This is a blatant violation of our HOA guidelines, she barked, thrusting a finger at the inflatable flamingo that had become an unexpected superstar thanks to Ted's knack for hilariously over-the-top antics. What does a flamingo have anything to do with fitness? The way she scowled made me half expect her to launch a full-fledged complaint against any neighborhood animal that didn't adhere to her appropriate decorum standards. The absurdity was almost too delightful. It improves agility, Karen. Think of it as training for when flamingos invade our neighborhood. I shot back, halting mid-presentation and gesturing toward my inflatable cousin. The crowd erupted in laughter, and just like that, Karen's authoritative grip faced a crack in the armor. Humiliation was not a good look for her. The atmosphere shifted. I could feel the tide turning like a storm about to explode into laughter and commotion. Karen stood with her clipboard, caught in the tableau, while behind her, I caught sight of a few of her staunchest followers, wavering between loyalty and laughter, as they marveled at the sight of Ted attempting to scale the inflatable flamingo, slipping and squealing like a startled squirrel. Now that's dedication. I couldn't resist shouting, urgency lighting up my voice. Can we get a round of applause for our best inflatable climber? The crowd erupted. Encouraged by my playful jab, hopes soaring as we tapped into a side of the neighborhood they had long forgotten existed. Adults were rediscovering the joy of silliness, and the depth of Karen's disbelief was almost palpable. Then came the utter plot twist of the day. Karen, very much desperate to reclaim control, shouted, "This is a public disturbance. I'm calling the PO." But before she could duck into her own dilapidated authority pit, the audacity of our collective spirit drowned out her protest. "This is as public as it gets, Karen. Let the fun brigade reign." I boomed with a grin, thrusting a fist in the air as our revolution caught fire. The sound echoed, sweeping through the gathering. With every bounce on the lawn, every laughter-filled shout pressing against the walls of her calculated resistance, the spirit of playful rebellion was contagious. Suddenly, I wasn't merely a retiree challenging the rules. I was a catalyst for fun in a neighborhood cloaked in the misery of order. Mia, picking up on our collective energy, led us into the first radical cardio dance number. I had to admit even my former Navy bones were pumped as we bounded and twisted, looking like a troop of overzealous ducks making their way through some bizarre marching drill. As we danced wildly, letting loose, I caught Karen's eyes, waving like a disgruntled referee who found herself on the field of chaos. But while she furrowed her brow deeper, the crowd danced on, unfazed by her presence, fully immersed in the moment, as if the heaviness of adult life had been stripped away by our joyous uproar. My inner seal whispered validation. There was power in collective joy. Strength wrapped in laughter could surely change the tide. As our workouts blended into a riotous celebration of motion and camaraderie, I knew this day would become a defining moment of resistance against absurdity. The neighborhood had joined forces, shedding their inhibitions. Each bouncing footstep began to rewrite the narrative. Who needed regulations when joy could conquer all? I approached Mia as she masterfully directed the impromptu dance segment, and together we realized this was more than an act of rebellion. It was a victory of community over conformity. So, what do you think, Mia? Is this what they mean when they say solidarity through sweat? I joked, my grin rivaling the sun. As she laughed and fist bumped me, I sensed something magnificent blossoming. Could it be that the greatest protest was potent moments like this, carved through laughter and determined hearts? Today would be remembered, a day where fitness fun coalesced with unyielding spirit, shaking the very foundations of HOA governance. The energy buzzed through the air, the stakes rising higher than anyone anticipated. Would Karen finally surrender to the fitness revolution unfolding before her? The laugh-a-thon continued as our little fitness rebellion raged on, fueled by the surreal visualization of Karen trying to regain her composure amidst our joyous chaos. "Watch out! We've got an agent of order trying to infiltrate our fun zone," I called out dramatically, mimicking some ridiculous secret agent, complete with hand gestures. The crowd erupted into another burst of laughter, and a few joined me in a mock salute directed at our very own neighborhood enforcer. Meanwhile, Karen pressed her lips together tighter than a vice, and if looks could turn gym mats into pudding, ours would have been a gooey disaster. The absurdity of this war made my pulse race in the best way. "Come on, Karen, have a sip of the spinach smoothie. Who knows, you might actually smile." I challenged her with a playful grin, holding up a green cup like a glass of eternal happiness. I was teasing, sure, but part of me genuinely believed that transformation could come from even the most unlikely places. Just when I thought the hysteria couldn't fold inward upon itself more, a riveting spectacle unfolded. Ted, fresh off scaling the inflatable flamingo, with minimal grace I might add, seized the moment and initiated a spontaneous game of inflatable sumo wrestling, which was frankly the most ridiculous thing my eyes had ever witnessed. A small group, under the hypnotic allure of enthusiastic laughter, swiftly donned oversized inflatable suits that made them look like quirky marshmallows prancing around, a blend of athletic ambition and utter nonsensical delight. Mia sprang into action, rallying the sumo wrestlers and other onlookers into forming teams. Watching Karen's expression gradually morph from irritation to bewilderment as her neighbors embraced the insanity of inflatable wrestling and engaged in some classic shouting matches over who could wrestle the most efficiently was the high point of my day. "Now that's real neighborly bonding," I cheered, reveling in the spectacle of the whimsical, chaotic athleticism that defined our unhinged little gathering. Of course, with absurdity rising to new heights as inflatable wrangling ensued, Karen made another futile attempt to reinstate her grip of authority. "Everyone, this is not how a community gathers. We should be engaged in civilized activities, like a book club or bingo," she erupted with an air of desperation that made me almost feel sorry for her. And I stress, almost. Yet the waves of laughter rolling around her felt like a burst dam, like the movement of glee pressed against every attempt she made to impose her will. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Bingo is just a glorified way to take a nap with snacks," and the eruption of laughter echoed back with a hearty affirmation. I couldn't resist chiming in, "But can you do burpees during bingo? Now that's a match made in cardio heaven." At that, a ripple of cheers burst forth, drowning out Karen's efforts as she looked more and more like a lone violinist within a rock concert without a clue. It dawned on me that we, my rambunctious boot camp squad, and our reluctant, bemused neighbors, were not just participating in an amusing clash with authority. No, we were here revolutionizing the concept of what community could mean. Our freedom to jest and laugh was kindling a spark among those who perhaps didn't realize how much joy was languishing beneath the surface of Kane's stern exterior. While laughter ignited collective grit, I spotted a glimmer of hope in Karen's once stern visage. Perhaps her calculated demeanor was beginning to crack, seemingly thawing in the face of inflatable chaos and unchained energy. Even her die-hard followers, once planted firmly by her side, now sported surprised smiles and exchanged sly glances. We were winning them over. As we transitioned into more organized training activities, I called for a team challenge, the Navy SEAL versus the HOA task force, I declared with theatrical flair. With cheers exploding around me, I whipped together teams, capturing the spirit of competition that had bubbled from our initial squabble. The opponents ranged from the flag, planting Karen's awkwardly fierce followers to the all-in community warriors, an eclectic mix. We tackled obstacle courses set up with the inflatable jungle gym, burpee challenges, and finally ending with an outrageous relay race involving nothing but a water balloon. The icy splashes brought out uncontrolled squeals and laughter. It was like a feel-good movie right on tight-lipped Karen Avenue. Would the elderly brigade of the HOA actually embrace the silliness? The grand finale approached as the sun blessed us with its golden rays, illuminating the absolute spectacle of community and fun we had created. Sweat dripped, laughter echoed, and somehow, right in the midst of it all, I noticed Karen standing aside, arms crossed, but the slightest hint of a bemused smile creeping onto her face. "Karen, are you contemplating a career change?" "Chief Fun Officer is available," I hollered, the challenge brimming with glee. Her steely facade wavered as a spark of joy danced in her eyes. Here was the moment where our lighthearted rebellion was transforming not only our community, but also the heart of the HOA itself. The battle was raging, a delightful skirmish of fun against the iron grip of social order. But could this be enough to unearth the happiness buried beneath the weight of Karen's rule? While I mulled over how this thought could extend beyond today as a metaphorical bridge, tearing down the divides that had drawn us apart, the crowd shouted in unison, demanding a rematch with Karen herself. "All right, Karen. Ready to join the inflatable wrestling fun?" I called out, thrill flooding my voice. By the growing look of surprise and disbelief on her face, I knew we had not only disrupted her structured universe, we had tempted her spirit to venture forth into uncharted, joyous territory. Brimming with anticipation and rivalry, I took a step closer to her, feeling a pitch of adrenaline. It was the ultimate showdown. Could she genuinely embrace the laughter and camaraderie emanating from a community once divided? Or would she remain a warden, locked in her proverbial cell? The day was certainly more explosive than any training mission I had encountered in the Navy, but the stakes felt even higher here. Would the chaos of inflatable joy tear down her walls? Thanks for tuning into this insane entitled Karen story. If you're craving more wild Karen showdowns, check out our video on the right. Or if you trust YouTube's instincts, pick the one on the left. Whichever you choose, brace yourself. There's plenty more meltdown madness where today's story came from.